I knew better.
Well, I'm sitting down today with Kim Grady, Amador County Clerk Recorder. Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. So recently you went before the Board of Supervisors along with Mark
Hammergren. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now Mark actually is the elections...
He's the Chief Deputy Registrar of Voters, yes.
Okay. Before we go any further, explain to us how that works. Now, you are the clerk recorder, but you are also are in charge of elections.
Yes.
But you have someone that Mark, who used to be Greta.
Correct.
Heads the elections department.
Right.
So explain to us how that all works.
As the elected county clerk recorder, county clerk comes with the registrar of voters in Amador County. So I'm the department head, but I have a chief deputy registrar of voters and then a chief deputy clerk recorder. So one in each office that is the supervisor in there.
All right. So you're in charge of elections, but the elections department is the department that actually executes the elections?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Correct.
Okay. So let's just go back to a story from last week when the Board of Supervisors met. This would have been on the 14th. And a lot of us walked away from the meeting, watching it on our video feed, reading the next day's story, that Amador County was going away from the way that we vote right now and go to basically an all vote by mail system, or the and the voting center system.
Yes, we'll go more to the vote center model. Yes.
But after talking with you, that's not quite right, and there's a lot that we have to go through.
Correct.
Before this will even
at the board meeting it was to work on the budget, and so that's what was approved, and the fact that they would support the decision to move in the direction of vote centers. We still have to get state approval before it can be completed, but they're working very closely with us to get that accomplished.
Did you have to present two budgets?
I did prepare two budgets. One was presented after speaking with county council and everyone. They said, what do you think is best?
Yeah.
So I said, this is the one I think is best, but I wanted to see both.
So before we go any further with this interview, let's go back a few more meetings.
Okay.
When the report was given on the elections.
Correct. With Deborah Seiler.
Yes. Give us the rundown. What was the takeaway from that?
Deborah was hugely helpful. She has wonderful ideas and was a great help to us. Unfortunately, the things that she had suggested in there, we could do some between June and November, which were accomplished, and they were great, so November was smooth. But after that, with the changes that the Secretary of State has made, now kind of all of those things that we were going to do, we're going to have to go a different direction.
What's that?
Well, we're going to go to the vote centers.
Oh, okay. So what did you learn, again, from this? And I'll put words in your mouth. Did you learn, well, this is the way we've always done it, and maybe the way we've always done it wasn't the best way that we should have done it?
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but there's always ways to streamline things, and she was extremely helpful in that process because she comes from counties that have many people, and of course we don't. So there was a lot of things that she could help me streamline to accomplish them in efficiently and correctly.
There could have been a lot of finger pointing with that election, and that didn't happen, which speaks a lot for you, I think, for the board, and because I think everybody understood it was a mistake. There were some mistakes made.
There were some mistakes.
Yeah. You came on here and, fessed up to, we made some mistakes.
Yeah.
We tried to do it the best way.
We tried to do the best we could, and it didn't turn out as we predicted. So you learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen again.
We're facing a recall.
Correct.
Kim, break this down for me on how this works. And I know we're not here to talk about this. We're going to get to our topic, but this is hot. We're recording this today on Thursday the 23rd. Last night, on the 22nd, during the school board meeting, I watched part of that, And, of course, we're facing a pretty heated recall of 4 of the 5
Yes.
seated board members. So what's the mechanics of this work? I want to recall you. So do I just say, Kim, put this on the ballot next time?
Oh, no, it's a longer process than that.
So what are all the steps, and where are we in the steps right now of this recall?
I'm not sure I can remember all the steps off the top of my
But
head.
they've got to. Don't you have to serve the person?
Yes, you
and
have
then
to
get
come
so
up
many signatures
with proponents and come up with a reason. Then that is served, and then the people being recalled get to answer to that. All of that, there's publication requirements, and then there is actually the petition. So the proponents come up with the petition, which has to be cleared because they have to do it exactly as the state provides. And then once that's done, depending on the numbers of people in the district, you have to get a certain number of signatures before it would go on to a ballot.
And so someone doesn't pick this apart. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't you have to get signatures at the very beginning too in
Correct,
order to
but
start
those
this process?
Proponent signatures, correct.
Proponent signatures. And how many are required for that? Just, do you know?
I think it depends on the numbers in the district.
Okay.
So I believe some of them were 10, some of them were...
So where are we now in this process?
Right now they are in the middle of gathering their signatures
Okay.
because they have 60 or 90 days, depending on which district they're in, to collect the appropriate number of signatures to see if it will go to an election.
And how many signatures? There's a percentage.
It's a percentage, and I don't have those off the top
but,
of my head.
I mean, you didn't come to talk about
Yeah.
this today, and I don't expect you to have that. Are the districts set up? They're set up the same as the supervisors, right?
Yes.
So District 1 is the Jackson area. District 2 would
Correct.
be the Ione area. District 3, and so
Yes.
forth. So, all right. So same as that. So they have. When's the clock run out? The calendar on this run out? Do you know?
No, not off the top of my head. 60 days for 3 of them and 90 days for 1 of them.
Why
if I'm
is
not
that,
mistaken.
Kim?
Because the number of people in the district. So
Okay,
the
so
percentage goes up to a certain level according to the code, so then they get 30 more days.
Aren't all the districts supposed to be pretty evenly?
They're pretty close.
They're pretty
They really
close,
are.
but there's a few. Okay. And then would this be a special election, or
Yes.
would it be? It would be a special election.
Yes.
And are we shooting for?
It would probably be at the end of the year,
November?
December.
Oh, really? December. Okay, so it wouldn't be in time for a November. Is there anything coming up this year?
No, because it's
November?
the off year.
Off
this
year,
would be
yeah.
the special election
So it would
year.
be
Yeah.
end of this year. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so by that time, will we be, voting by mail? I mean, so from listening to the report and watching it, some people walked away with voters are only going to be able to vote by mail moving forward. Is that true?
Not really. No, the Voters' Choice Act was signed in 2016, which allows voters more choices and more days to vote. So upon the state's approval, we'll have vote centers, which are similar to election offices.
All right, vote centers. Okay, so people will still be able to. So when is the next election coming up besides that
March.
one? In March.
Presidential primary.
And that'll be the presidential primary, which has
Correct.
been moved up from June
Yes.
to March. Maybe California will count.
It's a possibility.
So will this be done in time again for if the recall proponents get enough signatures?
It's possible.
It's possible, but we're just going to look forward to March right
Correct.
now. Okay.
Yes.
So people can still vote at their polling place in March?
No, it's the traditional 26 polling places.
Right.
We won't have those like before. Instead, every voter in Amador County would be mailed a vote-by-mail ballot starting 29 days before the election.
So whether I request a ballot or not,
Correct.
Teresa and I are going to get a ballot in the mail.
Every registered voter will get one. And then
Okay.
you have the choice to whether you vote that and mail it back in, which now a requirement is that we pay the return postage.
Right.
Or you can vote it and drop it in a drop box like we have behind the County Administration Center now, but we'll have approximately 4 others distributed throughout the county. Or you can go into a vote center, and those will have 3 total, 2 of which will be open for 11 days up into including Election Day, and then the other for 4. So, and those will function very similar to an elections office / polling place.
Grandma passed away a few months back, or my son moves to Tennessee in a month. Their ballots still come to the house. Can I fill them out and drop them off? What's going to prevent that from happening?
Well, the signature verification process will be part of it. And the only way that we would know that someone's registration has changed is if we were notified in some manner. So we have to go off of what the registration says at this point, and then if someone were to take a ballot for somebody who's moved out of state and
so when grandma passes away, whose responsibility is it to contact you and say, hey, grandma passed away, she's not on the voter rolls anymore?
That's actually as part of my other job in the recorder's office. So if it's Amador County, it comes from there. We also get them from the state. And
so do you issue the death certificates?
In the recorder's office.
So when grandma dies at the hospital here or at home, then the coroner or someone sends you a note and says, Kim, grandma's passed on. Take her off the rolls.
Yes, at the end of every month, we go through the death certificates, and those are given to the elections office so that those can be taken off of the rolls.
Because people are going to hit you up about this.
Oh yeah, sure. It's a hot topic.
Honestly, I think I like I've taken my boys since JD is in his late 30s now, Jake and Joey in their early 20s. They've always gone with Teresa and I to vote. And
you can still go, but you'll go to a vote center.
And will they say, Jim Guidi? How come they don't say that anymore? Jim Guidi has voted. Remember when they used to do that back in the day?
I've been voting vote by mail for a long time.
All right. So again, there's going to be 4 polling places?
3.
3 polling places?
Yes.
Okay. And
they're vote centers.
And the drop-off boxes
we'll have those distributed.
And how many days? Is it like 30 days before the election?
29 days before the election, we get those out and available because that's when the vote-by-mail ballots can be mailed.
So where were those going to be? You going to put one here at the radio station? You going to put one at the
We were
hospital?
trying to look by registered voters in certain areas and try and cover so that everybody had the opportunity.
Why not put them in the city halls of the towns?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's some of the stuff that we're going to go through with the state because there's other counties that have already been through this process, so lessons have been learned.
Rural counties like us?
Yes.
Really? Rural counties like us?
Most of them are larger than us, but similar rural county.
We're talking with Amador County Clerk Recorder and election czar, Kim Grady. I wish Mark was here to talk to. Is he out of the office?
He's back at the office.
He's back out filling things out.
He's working.
All right.
But he will be here, I'm sure.
So what happens at these vote centers?
Well, they function similar to a polling place where you'll have poll workers, and in these we'll have an election employee, and they'll have all the accessible equipment and materials.
So someone from the elections office will actually be at the.
Yes.
There's going to be 3 of these.
Correct. One is the elections office, and then we'll have 2 others outside of the election office.
Okay.
But they also function just like the elections office, where you can come in and drop off your ballot. You can receive a replacement vote-by-mail ballot if you've had an error, if it was destroyed, if you didn't get it. And then under conditional voting, you can come in and register and vote on the same day for all of that time up until
at the
8
voting
o'clock.
At the voting center?
Correct. They will function just like the elections office.
Okay, so you keep saying those, and I learned this terminology from you a few elections back, VBMs, vote-by-mail.
Vote-by-mail
ballots. Are we still calling them vote-by-mail ballots?
Yes.
But I don't have to apply for one anymore because you're going to send me one.
Correct. But the terminology.
So
has
why are
not
we
changed.
calling them vote-by-mail ballots? Now, can I vote and then put my ballot in the mailbox and mail it back to you?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so
and they're postage paid now because that is a new law that's gone through that we will be paying return postage on all of them.
So let's just clarify that because I can hear people asking this as we've been talking about. I mean, I'm going to have to go to one of these polling places? No, you can still mail it in. You don't have to go to the polling place, and you don't have to go to one of these drop boxes you're going to have. You can still
put it in the mail.
Mail them back.
Yeah, just like before.
Kim, how do those come in? I always tend to think that the election's over the weekend after the vote-by-mail ballots go out.
Nope.
No?
Not even close.
When do they come in? I mean,
they'll start coming in pretty much within the week that they're received. and then we start gathering them, and then you start the signature verification process.
But I mean, when's the bulk of them come in? I'm talking about the bulk of the.
It kind of goes in waves. That first maybe 3 weeks after they're mailed, we'll start getting big chunks of them, and then it kind of lulls for a little bit, and then when it gets real closer to the election itself, we start getting big bunches.
When's the big bunch come in? I mean, at the end?
Yes, and before, when people would bring them into a polling place and drop them off, that was also a lot that were dropped off on Election Day.
And it's better, folks, to mail your ballot in than bring it to the polling place, because it doesn't get voted it doesn't get counted that night, correct?
Correct. If we receive it on Election Day, we wait until the next day to start processing those, because we're required to finish the polls before we went home on election night, and then you go back to your VBM process. But this process is going to be a little bit different.
You people have caused us in the media heartburn over the last few years with this, because it used to be we could go home at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2, and now it's like, stay tuned, like the race for school board in Ione, the Ione district. That went for how many days? Back and forth, back and forth, back
Very
and forth.
Very close. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
But it was the requirement that we had to give poll votes to the Secretary of State's office before leaving on election night. And we had done as many vote by mails prior to that as we possibly could, and then you start back in the process the next day.
Kim, are you excited about this going to March, or does it matter for your department at all?
It doesn't matter as much. Now it is, because it's the first time, so you think you have a little bit more time, so things will just start a little bit earlier for us, but it'll be fine.
But you would have a few more months between the primary and the general.
Yes.
To get.
We will now.
Ready. Yeah.
Right.
We will now. Okay. We're talking again with Kim Grady, Amador County Clerk Recorder, trying to sort through the change that Amador County is going through.
Yes.
With voting. Why are we doing this? What was wrong with the way we've always done it?
When they passed the Voters' Choice Act, that was the intent, that all the counties would be going to this model by 2022.
So that's meant for all California voters.
Correct. They want them to be able to vote when, where, how, and how they want. But in the beginning, the state had not offered any funding for this, and it can be expensive, and so especially for a smaller county like us, it was just not something you can do.
Yeah.
Well, then the state came out with some money that they would give distributed between the counties for matching funds, and our original plan was to use that to start upgrading our aging equipment and start moving towards that 2022 date.
But then as you told the supervisors last Tuesday, our machines that we have are out. The elections folks at the state are not going to certify these anymore.
They decertified all of the election equipment.
What do you do with the old election, the vote?
Well, usually it depends on your vendor. Some of them will take them back, kind of a trade-in.
Who wants them? I mean,
I don't know what they do.
I mean, seriously,
with
what
them
would they
after
do with
that.
them?
Maybe they go to other countries after they've been refurbed.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Have at it there.
I know they'll do that with some counties. They'll refurb and use them if somebody got something new. Mm-hmm. You can have the older model for cheap.
So when did the Secretary of State decertify the voting?
That was in February. It was announced.
Now, is that just ours or all throughout the state?
Throughout the state.
Throughout the state?
Correct. So every county is in this process, although some of them have already gotten newer equipment because they maybe have the budget to do so.
Does any of this happen to do with any of the, the Russians hacked the elections, with federal standards at all?
I don't think so. California's certification standards are actually more stringent than the federal standards, but I think that is obviously on the Secretary of State's mind, and so by having the most current, secure processes, you're doing the best you can.
What's the vote by mail? I mean, it's almost. I know it's over half.
Yes, it's actually we're over 73%, almost 74% right now. Right now, correct.
Well, to me, it would seem. I mean, cost effective to just have. And I know I say one polling place because I live here in Jackson, but if I lived in Fiddletown or
Right.
out on Shake Ridge Road up by Dewdrop, I might go, no.
But there's code that tells you how many you have to have per registered voters
So
in the
where will
county.
these go?
Well, what we're thinking now, which of course this will come with the state's assistance, the elections office is one vote center, which is centrally located in the county. And then we are looking on the east end and the west end to try and give everyone so they don't have to travel as
So
far.
I won't go to Mel's anymore, down to
Correct.
the banquet room to vote. I'll just go to... And do you want me to vote, or do you want me to have this thing already filled out when I come in and just...
That's the best part. You get to choose. If you come into a vote center and want a ballot, it's kind of like when you used to come into the elections office.
yeah.
You'd say, I messed this one up. I'd like another, please. We'll hand you another vote by mail ballot, and you can go vote it in the voting booth, use the accessible equipment, whichever you choose.
So, Amador County, you said 73%, and we've got matching funds coming in
Yes,
from the state,
correct.
and with the requirements to buy new equipment,
Yeah.
this in your mind is the best?
I just feel it's the best thing because you have to use the funding to the best you can at the time because you don't always get it. And so why not, if we can do it, move to the latest, most secure, accessible, modern equipment we can.
Kim, could you still go out and buy vote machines and say, nope, we're going to do it the way we've always done it. We're going to have 37 precincts and away we go.
We could. The funding is a little bit different from the state because they are obviously wanting this model to go forward.
So the state Secretary of State's office is telling or suggesting all counties move this?
Yes, it's the
telling or
intent.
suggesting? The intent?
Strongly suggesting.
The intent. There we go. The intent. So
It was the
all right.
intent.
So we're going to be, we're going to be using the most current and secure stuff here.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you again this question. We'll go back to our one of the federal standards and so forth. And I want you to tell everybody here in Amador County land, Amador and Calaveras County land, that it is almost impossible to hack into our vote machines
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
because they are not online. Correct?
They're not connected to anything. They get power. That is it. And within the office, we are connected to the Secretary of State.
So I don't have to worry about someone in the Kremlin changing my vote.
No, there is no way that they could get in.
So Kim, is all this really just influence peddling? Is that what they're trying to say?
That's my understanding of it. Is more of it was the influence of outside countries.
And were you, were elections departments? Were you contacted by anyone and talked to about this?
You mean like the state?
Yeah,
gives
yeah,
oh
did
yeah.
they-
Oh yeah. And there's different groups that are voter advocate groups that let you know what's happening because we don't always see that outside part of it because we're on the inside.
Sure,
So there's a lot of people that just say, hey, just so you know, this is out there, and we try and get out some voter information so that they know what's happening as much as possible.
So to wrap this interview up, we are moving forward. If the recall election moves forward, it would probably come December.
Believe so.
Okay.
That was the last time I looked at the.
So towards the end of the year, first
End
of
of
the
the
year.
year.
Okay, let's just say that.
Right.
All right. But this will not be in place for that. It should be or could be in place for the March primary.
Yes, that is our goal, is that we will be using this model for the March primary, and that is what I've been told by the Secretary of State as well. They're helping us and moving us to that end.
You got 10 months, my friend,
I
to
know.
put this all together.
It's a lot because there's a lot of requirements to be met still.
Yeah.
I actually have my first meeting with the Secretary of State's office tomorrow to start lining it all out.
And
Hit
we're not
those
the only.
requirements.
I mean, Calaveras is in the same boat.
I don't believe Calaveras is going right now, but there are 15 counties, I think.
Why
now.
are we moving ahead then? If other counties, you said 15 counties are doing
Mm-hmm.
this, and there's out of the 48
Right.
counties or whatever we have here,
58.
58, whatever. Is it 58? I thought it was 48.
58.
Really? See, I still have a flag with 13 stars on it. So.
Well,
I'm going to edit that part out of the interview. So with all the counties, with all the counties in the state going for, some of them are still doing it, some of them aren't doing it. Why are we jumping ahead? Why don't we wait like Calaveras and kind of see how this fleshes out?
That was what we were investigating, and it seems as though what we would be doing is taking the state matching funds and buying for 26 polling places, 29 polling places. Yeah. And then by 2022, that means we would have a lot of extra equipment that was very costly that would not be used. So if the budget supported it and the board was on board with it, we just
I think it's a great idea, Kim.
move this.
I don't know why we didn't as a county go to a vote by mail ballot. Did you see this coming? Do you in the elections department say, you know what, man, what are we doing?
Yes, because a lot of the funds that are used in the elections department are for polling places. So money-wise, just doing vote by mail ballots is much cheaper.
Yeah.
But that doesn't allow everyone the opportunity to go to a place
Here's
to drop off the ballot.
Here's a nitpicking question for you. What's the postage going to cost on these?
I think it's $1. Well, we'll have to figure out once we actually have a ballot.
Because the size of the ballot, correct?
Size of the ballot, how many pages, that kind of thing. But the guesstimation is either $1.38 or $1.58, I think, for return.
And how many voters are there registered in Amador County?
Over 23,000, 24,000.
So there we've just spent $25,000 in postage alone.
Yes. But it's business reply, so it's only if it's used.
Okay, good point. Now,
which also is a reason for the drop-offs. Not only is it helpful for people so they don't have to travel as far.
Is there going to be continued funding from the state for this?
It does not appear so, but they do a little bit. We get different grants for certain
Are we going to save money in the long run, Kim? I mean, over the years, is this going to save money? What does it cost you right now to put on an election here in Amador County?
That's a loaded one. I'd have to go back and look at those numbers. I'd hate to guess that one off the top of my head.
I know, and I don't want someone to be listening to this again and tear you apart.
It totally depends on the size and what it's for and how many ballots you needed, whether they're party ballots or not.
But this way, the vote by mail and the vote centers will save us money?
Yes, and we've tried to do a little prediction forward just from where we are now, and it looks very similar. So it's maybe not saving us tons, but it is not costing us tons.
Will it?
The first part is, right now is expensive to get it going, but that's where the state comes in, so it doesn't hurt our budget as much.
Kim Grady, Amador County Clerk, Recorder, and Election Czar. Thanks for coming in to visit with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And straightening us out on this situation.
Next time I'll bring Mark.
Okay, great. Yeah. Great. We'll talk with Mark.